Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hey everyone, Ray Robinson here, host of the Unsensitive Podcast. You're probably wondering, what does unsensitive mean? Well, it's a completely made-up word to define a topic that is insensitive to talk about at family gatherings and parties, but you talk about them anyway. New episodes drop every other Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, part of the Fearscape Media Network.
Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basements may contain graphic, violent, vulgar, or explicit content not suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement. And if you're new here, I'm Anna.
And I'm Lindsey. Come on inside the manor.
I'm still on that adrenaline high from our last episode. It was so exciting and such an honor to talk with Jeff. And if you haven't listened to that episode, please go check it out. It was such a cool experience for us.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to it, it was with Jeff Mudgett, who's the great-great-grandson of H.H. Holmes.
I mean, that in itself is just mind-blowing that we know somebody like related to an infamous serial killer now. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, so it's a great conversation. Definitely go check that out because I'm still blown away by it.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody should be.
I just, it's so funny because we've been getting feedback from people, and thank you for that, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Any feedback is welcomed feedback. Also, shout out to Brittany, who told us we need to start an official Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement book club. And I think that's a fantastic idea.
That is a great idea. We have not planned anything yet, but we heard your idea and we are trying to figure out something that would work because we do listen to books together and discuss them and stuff. We've done it twice now. So that was a great recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah. When we get that more squared away, it'll be on our socials. So keep an eye out for that. And then we'll mention it in an episode coming up when it's all squared away. But for daily up-to-date stuff, please check out Facebook, Instagram, and sometimes Twitter if I remember to post.
Yes, exactly.
I forget Twitter's a thing because I don't tweet.
Right. Like I was real big into it back when it first launched back in like 2008, 2009, whenever that was. Or maybe it's not when it launched, but when it was but I just am not on it very much anymore.
Yeah, I used to be into it, and then they, like everything, update and change and grow, and I just didn't grow with them.
Exactly. Yeah, same.
I haven't really got to talk to you much because you just got back from your vacation. How did that go?
Oh, it was really great. It was a short trip. We didn't even leave the state. We just went somewhere else, took the kids to see the ocean for the first time. And it was a really fun time. I wish it could have been longer, but also we were so exhausted. We kept doing like going and checking things out, and instead of just, it wasn't like a laying around vacation. And so in that sense, it's nice to be home. I feel like I need a vacation from the vacation.
I feel that when we got back from our spring break trip, I mean, we packed in business and pleasure into one trip, not to mention about 16 hours of driving total, just from location to location to location. It was about 16 hours of drive time, not to mention just going and doing random shit while we're there. So I feel that vacation from vacation relaxation need.
But overall, it was really neat.
Yeah, I like the pictures that you had sent me while you were vacationing. It was really pretty where you were at.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
What is it? Wednesday of the week that we're recording. We're taking my son. I asked because anybody with small children, you understand this. You buy thousands of dollars worth of things that they just dump on the floor and step on and break. So for his birthday, I said, please, no more toys. We have toys. he could use an experience or an activity. So his grandparents bought him an activity experience combined, where we all go to this safari zoo thing.
Is it Tiger King's thing?
No,
Oklahoma.
I'm so disappointed it is not the Tiger King's place. I don't even know if that place is still up and running.
I think Carol Baskins owns it now.
If I could meet Carol Baskins, that would be amazing. I would probably like find that TikTok sound and just follow her around doing it, be obnoxious and get kicked out. But Carol Baskins. No, it's not the just Joe Exotic one, but I do personally know somebody who used to work for Joe Exotic, so that's kind of weird.
Wow, that's a crazy connection there.
Yeah. Well, when I started working at one of my former jobs, my coworker, her husband was actually like briefly, like for 2 whole seconds in the documentary, and they were talking about it. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And they're like, oh, her husband worked for Joe. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, tell me everything.
Seriously.
And there wasn't much that he could tell, but I mean, it was still fucking exciting to like secondhand know a person. Like,
right, cool. That whole documentary was just a wild ride.
I know. And it's so funny because it feels like that was so long ago, and it was like a year ago and a year and a few months ago that it came out. I don't know. This time last year, everybody was still talking about Carol Baskins and Joe. So
here we are a year later talking about it again. Get over it.
Right. But we're going to this like safari thing, and it should be a blast. I think it's like an hour, really cool. 2 hours from my house one way. So I'm going to make sure he has his tablet for the car, because for the older listeners that are, like actual adults, I don't know how the fuck you raised us, people. I don't know how you raised us without technology, because my kid can't not bounce off the walls. Thank you, ADHD, unless he has something to distract him. And for whatever reason, my kid refuses to read, probably because schools push it so hard.
Yes, I have such a love-hate thing with that, because my oldest she's consistently, since she learned how to read in kindergarten, consistently been 2 grade levels ahead. But because of that, she is limited on what she can read for AR tests.
Yeah, so it should be a good time going to the tiger safari thing or outdoor zoo. I don't know what it's going to be like, but we're all looking forward to it. But beyond that, I don't have anything wild and exciting going on. I did have those spinal procedures done.
Okay, go this time.
The second time went way better than the first.
Oh yeah.
It actually seems slightly effective. I mean, I still have pain, but it's nowhere near as bad. So fingers crossed it gets
for real
to stay this way for just like a little bit of relief would be nice.
Absolutely.
We're gonna jump right in. This week we're gonna cover something a little heavy. So heads up. And it's gonna be one of those episodes where we conversate one story because it's something we both have a tie in.
Yes. So a few episodes ago, we had done our listener episode where we told our personal stories. And every time we ask you guys to send us stuff in, we're always like, send us all your stuff, true crime, paranormal, whatever. And but ghost stories are fun, but true crime stories aren't, right? And
they're so heavy.
Yeah, and we've always emphasized that we in no way romanticize killers. We talked about that a lot last week because we were excited about talking with Jeff, and we wanted to emphasize it's not because we're excited about H.H. Holmes. But so given that and what this month is, being July, we wanted to make this episode special and tell you about a true crime story that we both personally experienced. We mentioned before that we met when our husbands were stationed at Buckley Air Force Base in Aurora, Colorado. But what we did not touch on, at least I don't think we did, or we didn't go into very many details, is when we lived there. And
it was a wild summer. It's the summer that we met. Mm-hmm. We're talking 2012. So maybe you guys can connect the dots from there. But I met Lindsey late May, early June. So we're fresh in our friendship when this tragedy happened, and it kind of was our first trauma bond together.
Right. And so, yeah, we lived in Aurora, Colorado on July 20th, 2012, which you all may know as the day of the Aurora Movie Theater Massacre.
It was a hell of a day.
Saying it.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy to hear you say it because it still gives, I have like full body chills.
Same.
Ugh.
So we all know the basics of the story, but we want to give the facts because that's what true crime podcasts do. So just a few minutes after midnight on July 20th, 2012, James Holmes, dressed in complete tactical gear, including a gas mask, threw some testers and into the movie theater and opened fire at the midnight premiere showing of The Dark Knight Rises. Within 7 minutes from the first 911 call, Holmes surrendered to the police outside of the theater. And that night, 12 people were killed and 70 were injured.
I would just like to say, that is one hell of a turnover. Within 7 minutes of a phone call, he surrendered to police. Like you don't hear of that happening often.
Yeah, like a lot of situations like this, there's some sort of standoff or
they choose to go out because cop assisted suicide is a thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's not what he was. He was in it for the fame or the infamy, and I think that's just fucking disgusting.
Sickening. We have a lot of opinions on James Holmes, which I'm sure will come out in this episode. After he was in custody, he made comments to the police about having explosives in his apartment, including a tripwire that if they opened his apartment door would set off explosions and flammable liquids and stuff. So the police had to evacuate, I think it said 5 buildings surrounding the area to try to protect everybody. And on July 21st, they were able to disarm the explosives with a controlled detonation and removed 30 homemade grenades and 10 gallons of gasoline.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Holmes first appeared in court on July 23rd, and it was ordered that he was held without bond, which good.
As it should be.
Yes.
Now, on July 25th of 2012, authorities found a package in the, and I'm going to say this probably wrong because I say everything. Ann Schultz Medical Campus, where Holmes was attending prior to the shooting, in their mailroom that had been sent by Holmes and was addressed to his psychiatrist. The package was in the package was a handwritten note detailing his plan, his obsession with killing, and the question why was written several times. That's so unnerving, by the way.
Yeah.
It was reported that his psychiatrist told the campus police in June that he felt Holmes was potentially a danger, and he had started the process of unenrolling him from the university before any action could be taken. Now let's fast forward a little bit into March. Initially, he was offered a plea deal if he pled guilty in exchange for a life sentence instead of the death penalty, which, I mean, I don't think, in my opinion, they should have offered him shit, but I digress.
Time out. He requested guilty to not have the death penalty.
Okay.
And then the judge was like, nah.
Oh, okay. After that was denied, he changed the plea to not guilty by reason of insanity. If I hear that fucking plea one more time, like, so many people play the victim when they aren't the victim. The victim are the people that they attacked. It's fucking sickening.
We've said it before and we'll say it till we die. You can be mentally ill and not kill people.
I have several diagnoses. Oh, and a new one. I have ADHD, which, I mean, makes a hell of a lot of sense, but it's nice to finally have it. Hi, puppy. Have it diagnosed. He's just saying hi. Ultimately, he was sentenced to 12 life sentences, 1 sentence for each victim who passed away. Thank you. Plus an additional 3,318 years for each attempted murder.
Good. He was also ordered to pay $954,878.95 in restitution. I'm not sure why such a specific number, but also how would he ever pay
maybe for damages and hospital fees and funeral costs?
Maybe. The 95 cents really threw me.
Yeah, it's always
I'm sure there's some formula.
Yeah,
that they determined.
It's to make him feel like he's getting one hell of a deal. That's what they do at the store. That 95 cents instead of, like that rounding up to the dollar.
Yeah, but yeah, he's in prison for life. No possibility of parole.
Thank
all
God for that.
Absolutely. So now, as we approach the 9-year anniversary,
as we record
this episode, actually, we are setting it to specifically come out on the anniversary for this reason. So you'll notice, I mean, you're listening to it now, so you know that it's out a couple of days early. But we wanted to honor the lives lost, those who were injured, and everyone who was directly affected by those events, and to put an emphasis on victims and not the infamy that he so desperately wanted.
Because if we only said his name, we are doing exactly what he asked for. We are giving him all the credit that he wants. Like, look at what I did. I'm so fucking cool, which you're not, by the way. No. And if we don't say the victims' names, he wins.
Then they're just numbers.
Yeah.
And notches in his belt. And no. So I'm going to read their names. I am just going to say first names just because I don't want to completely mess up their last names.
Right. And I feel that on a spiritual level.
So the 12 victims that night were Gordon, Rebecca, Jesse, John, Micayla, AJ, Alex, Matthew, Jonathan, Jessica, Alexander, and Veronica. And Veronica was a child, and her mother was pregnant and lost the baby.
That's awful.
So the mom survived the shooting, but lost the pregnancy, lost her child. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's a heavy fucking episode. We warned you, people. We might get emotional. And that's the thing is, like, we have a personal tie to this, which we'll get into later in the episode. But this specific case brings up a hell of a lot of feelings for us for a lot of fucking reasons. This was a town that we called home. I called Aurora home for 6 years of my life. I raised my daughter there. I had my son there. That was my home. And
I worked across the street from this movie theater. I worked at Party City. I filled up balloons for people's memorials.
It's just fucking heavy. And
yeah,
we'll get into more of our personal account later after we give you the facts, because once we start, we're going to cry and then we won't be able to be audible for the rest of the episode.
Crying.
I'm starting to.
But there is now on Alameda Parkway, which is where the movie theater was or is. But there is now like a memorial there. And when we lived there, it was basically just roadside people putting things out there.
Teddy bears.
Yeah.
There were candles, there were pictures, there were poster boards. It was beautiful and sad and heartbreaking to drive down Alameda every time. I swear.
Now they have it's like birds flying. I haven't seen it in person because I don't live there anymore.
Right.
But like there is a Facebook page. There is the 720 Memorial Foundation in Aurora that was to honor the victims and everybody who is affected by that. And they have like a little statue thing there now, and they're actually now a full-blown nonprofit that they try to. I'll just read the description off their website because it's better than what I could explain. It starts out with all caps, "Love wins always." It says, as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, our founding mission to honor our loved ones taken in the Aurora Theater shooting and to celebrate the resilience of our community was realized in 2018 when we raised enough money through partnership, donation, and events such as the annual Reflection Garden on Tap Beer and Chalk Art Festival to complete the memorial. Our mission is now focused on providing support across the nation to communities who have experienced similar tragedy. We are continuing our outreach to the Paper Crane Peace Project and have grown into an organization of advice and guidance for other communities, as well as advocating for long-term needs of survivors. We would like to thank everyone for the comfort, love, and support you've given us on our journey to recover.
And then we will put their website in our show notes so that if you wish to donate, that
or even just check them out, whatever. Yeah.
Or just check out their website. It'll be in the show notes. Absolutely in the show notes.
Yes.
All right. So the part that's going to make us all cry. Well, maybe not you, but me and Lindsey. Our personal stories and how this affected our lives.
So Anna, how did you hear about the movie theater shooting?
All right, so a little bit of backstory. My husband was deployed. He was on his first deployment. He was he went to 7 countries on a naval ship. He's not in the Navy. He wasn't in the Navy. He was in the Air Force, but he deployed with the Navy on a medical relief mission to bring medical supplies to countries in need, which I think was amazing. And he's across the world. And my phone wakes me up at like 6:30 in the morning, which, by the way, don't do this to me, people. If you know me personally, unless something's on fire, don't do this to me. It scares me to death. So I'm startled awake and I hear his voice and it's heavy. He goes, "Oh, thank God you're okay." And I said, "Huh? Well, what?" And then he goes, "The shooting. Did I wake you up?" And I go, "Yeah, wait, what shooting?" He goes, "Hold on." And he sent me a Facebook link and it like on Messenger, and it was a news article. And because I'm in bed. And so I just start sobbing and I immediately just lose my shit. And I tell my husband that I can't talk right now. I have to go check on Lindsey because she's down the street, and I mean, it's going to affect her too. So before I get out the door around a decent hour, I'm not going to go to her house at like 6 something in the morning. I waited until a whole 7:30. I'm guessing it's, but probably maybe not 7:30, but a reasonable hour. I get to her house and she's just red-faced crying and I'm crying, and like it's a real good scene, you know. Like I'm sure the neighbors loved that.
I'm sure they were all experiencing the same thing, honestly.
Yeah. And the kids didn't get why we were upset because they're little and they're just like, "Mommy, mommy," you know, and it's like, shh, I can't explain this to them. Like,
yeah,
fuck, it's too much. And so I had 12 to 13 missed phone calls with frantic voicemails. I had to return those calls. And the hardest one was to my husband's Nana, who I can't even fathom disappointing because that fucks me up inside. It's Nana. So when Nana, her hello, and she just heard my voice, she goes, "Oh, thank you, God." And it's just one of those things, like it's heavy. It's a heavy thing to have to call people and let them know that you didn't die. I'm okay. Like, I don't know how celebrities do it when people post fake news articles that they died and then they have to reassure America that they're not dead.
right.
Like it was hard enough just doing that for my friends and family. And so, I mean, me and Lindsey we heavy drank that night. We're not gonna
I don't even
it.
remember.
Oh yeah. We just sat around and like quiet pretty much on my porch as I chain smoked. Sorry, listeners, I'm a bad influence. And I just drank and just talked about how crazy the world was. That's my memories of it. And then when Jillian started school, we went to the mall and she's like 5. She goes, "Look, mommy, it's murder theater." I go, "I'm sorry. So it's what?" And I was like, "Where did you hear about that?" I hadn't told her about the shooting. And I mean, she was 5. It's too heavy of a topic for a baby. And she goes, "One of my friends' mommy was there that night." And I was like, "Oh." And she goes, "Yeah, the kids call it murder theater." I was like, "Well, you don't call it that. That's disrespectful. People died." And like, I had to have a very serious talk with a 5-year-old. And, you know, she was smart enough to comprehend it, thankfully, but it was heavy as fuck to have to sit there with my baby and explain to her that we don't talk about things like that we have to say it with kindness and a heavy heart and remember that people lost their lives. But she didn't know that. She didn't know how to act. She was little.
Like every other child, picked up things at school.
Oh yeah.
Not knowing exactly what it means.
I mean, it's just heartbreaking. And driving down past to go anywhere, like I wanted to go to BJ's Brew House for dinner. Oh, well, we got to take Alameda. It's just like, it was hard to avoid that part of town and not drive past it. I mean, Aurora is a big city, but like I'm a creature of habit. I go like 5 places ever.
Right. And then I literally worked across the street. So like I was
Yeah.
there every day.
So that's my little tidbit. Okay, well, let me say this for those of you at home. Zoom is a real bitch today. Sorry to interrupt our normal podcast. This is just a little side note that this is part 5 of us trying to record this episode.
It keeps
5 Zoom
freezing.
calls. It keeps dropping Lindsey like I don't even know, like every 5 minutes. It's real fun. It's real. It's a real experience. And this is what it's like to record a podcast.
Yes.
So back to our regular scheduled episode in 3, 2, 1. Lindsey, again, would you like to tell us, if Zoom will allow you, what that day was like for you?
Yes, I would. So the bright side of all the technical difficulties is it kind of lightens the mood.
Yeah. I have a little bit of anger in me for a lot of reasons at my computer.
Yes. But so some backstory before I get into that day. When I lived in Kentucky, my first job was at a movie theater, and I worked there pretty much until I moved away from Kentucky. I had a few breaks here and there, but that was my job. And when I worked there back in what year? Like I guess 2008, whenever The Dark Knight came out, because I worked at the movie theater, I got special passes. I got to go to the midnight premiere of The Dark Knight. And like I guess it was technically like an 8 p.m. premiere or whatever, but like I loved it. My mom, my sisters, like we all were there, I'm pretty sure. And so the idea that I would be at the sequel to that movie's premiere, it was a big possibility. And but I had my oldest child, who at the time was not even a year old yet, so definitely she wasn't at that age. But so I woke up, much like Anna did, to a phone call, and it was my memo, which is strange because she doesn't usually call me. And so, of course, it's like
especially
what you said,
that early in the day.
It's early in the day, so it's like, oh no, who died? Well, they're making sure you didn't. But I still remember answering like, hello, and she just broke down. Especially because she had heard a little girl was at the theater, which was the name that I said earlier.
Yeah.
I think it was Veronica, I think.
Yeah, Veronica.
But she didn't know the age.
At that point, they had not released the names of the victims.
Names, ages, nothing. So she just heard a child, and she knew I had gone to the Dark Knight, and so she thought that we had gone.
But to answer the phone and hear just Lindsey and then sobbing, it's just like, oh my God, you really do think the worst thing has happened. Like someone's dead. And it turns out it was supposed to be you.
Very well could have been you. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like that's terrifying.
And so then I had to text everybody, let them know we were not there. I remember posting on Facebook, we are safe. We were not at the movie theater. It's hard. And then we have to, like we said a little bit earlier, it's everywhere you go. Like, if you've never been to Aurora, that is like a pretty main part of town. That's where the mall is. It's where like
a lot of
like
restaurants.
I said, I worked right across the street from it. That was like the same shopping center where you have like Target and like all that kind of stuff. That's a really busy part of town. There is no avoiding it. So it's just this constant reminder. Like because I had movie theater experience, I almost worked at that movie theater. I had a job application, ended up working at Party City instead.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the thing of it is, it could have been any movie. He could have picked any showing. It didn't have to necessarily be Batman. He didn't have a problem with Batman. He had a problem.
Although he did allegedly, I never knew if this was a rumor or real. He did allegedly tell the police that he was the Joker.
Oh, what an asshole.
But I think I read one thing. I can't remember if it's something I read when researching, because here's the thing. I didn't follow a lot of it because it's hard.
It's hard.
So I didn't know a lot of the details until I was looking it up for this episode. So I don't know if I read it back then, some other time during the last 9 years, or while researching this. but that because of him being dressed the way he was, people thought it was like somebody getting dressed up for the premiere. They thought it was like part of it.
That's fucking sad. Yeah, because I mean, Star Wars people dress up like characters to go to see the movie. So I mean,
right, it would make perfect sense for somebody to be dressed up like, I don't know. And and even beyond just living in Aurora and having to deal with those hard phone calls and text messages and all of that, even anytime it comes up, I remember exactly where I was when they were televising his trial. Yeah, I was at the church I was going to. They had a play place in it, and like my friends and I would meet up there a lot, and like let the kids play, and they had a little coffee shop there. And I remember seeing it on the screen, seeing his stupid face
and his Kool-Aid colored hair. I swear he dyed it with Kool-Aid.
And them talking about how he tried to plead insanity. And I just felt such anger because I've said it already on this episode. You can be mentally ill and be going through a psychotic break and not kill people.
I already did.
Okay.
This, by the way, ladies and gents and guys and aliens and whoever is listening to this, if you're still listening after all the technical difficulties we have had, I think it's part 6, 7, 25. 6. I don't know.
We're on part 6.
It keeps cutting us off. It left off with you saying that he pled insanity.
You don't kill people just because you're mentally ill. You can be going through a psychotic break, which is what they were trying to claim, like his attorneys and everything. Like, oh, well, he was going through this huge psychotic break, whatever. You can do that without,
until you factor in the fact that he booby trapped his house and sent a note to his therapist and all this other shit.
Saying that he was going to do this, and the therapist tried to help, but then he left school before anything could happen. Yeah. I think I read on one article that said like the psychologist or psychiatrist told the campus police and told them to deactivate his card so he can't get into locked rooms.
I mean,
like they knew, and they tried so to do something. And he evaded it. You don't go through that sort of conniving, planning things and have quote unquote no control over your thoughts and actions.
There's so many things out there. There's schizophrenia, there's DID, there's borderline personality disorder. I have that. There's bipolar. I have that. There's anxiety. There's a ton of things I probably can't even think of right now because I'm trying to. And just because you have a disorder does not mean you are a monster. And I would like to point out, if you have a disorder and you are also a monster, it does not give you fucking rights at all to sit there and say, oh, but because I'm broken a little. Fuck you.
Like you have to have some accountability in your life, no matter what sort of mental issues you're dealing with, period.
Like, okay, take a child throwing a tantrum. They are out of control at that moment, but there are still actions and consequences despite your emotional state. It's just the fact of life. Actions have consequences, and you don't get to blame your shit on being sad or upset or whatever. And I'm not saying that mental breaks are not real. I had one in January. I lost a day and a half, and I did things that I don't remember doing. I asked people to do things. I held conversations. I held my daughter's hand. I don't fucking remember anything.
Right.
For a day and a half. And you
know
what?
What you didn't do?
I didn't kill anybody. And I didn't blame my mental illnesses for it. I took it, and I took accountability, and I took it.
And you got help.
I took it to my doctor, and I got stronger psychotics, and I got stronger anti-anxiety medicine, and I went to a therapist. I got fucking help. I didn't blame my situation for fucking anything. It aggravates me.
Oh yeah, this obviously strikes a huge nerve in us for several reasons.
Sorry, people, for me having an angry tone.
But we're not sorry at the same time, because I'm sure most people listening to this would completely agree with us. And it's unfair.
Here's the deal. I don't know, maybe we're funny to you. Sometimes we're comedic sounding, or we have like small little things that might be funny. We don't advertise at all as a true crime, paranormal comedy, fucking anything. That's not our hook. Like, we're not making jokes about people that died, and we're not making jokes about it because it's fucking serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you think we're funny, that's fantastic. I think I'm fucking hilarious.
Same,
But
but
yeah, oh yeah, you're very funny, or I wouldn't be your friend. Our sense of humor is very similar, so that, I mean, is super nice. But some things require a level of seriousness, and this is one of them.
which is why we wanted to do this episode at all, because we wanted you guys to know that when we're asking for your true crime stories alongside, like if you've seen Bigfoot or ghosts or whatever, we're not expecting you to try to entertain us. Like, yeah, maybe there's a fun connection. Like earlier, Anna said she knows somebody who worked with Joe Exotic. Like that's a fun connection to true crime.
Right.
Because if you don't know, there was crime involved there. But
it's just like, wow, you know somebody I've seen on Netflix. Whoa.
Right. But then there's stuff like this. And there's so much more true crime that we've both experienced that we won't get into in this. No. And because it's just too personal. And but this is what we mean when we say share your stories. Like that the difference between paranormal stories and true crime stories is that true crimes are true. They're real.
I'm not going to discount paranormal experiences. They can be real.
No, yeah.
But they're not as awful, hopefully. Fingers crossed for you out there who have had really bad night hags or spirit encounters, etc. I've never heard of anyone dying from seeing a ghost.
Other than like in movies.
Yeah, well, you know, movies.
And yeah, I wasn't trying to say paranormal stories aren't real. We literally shared our own ghost stories. And but true crime is crime that's happening to real people. It's hurting people. There are victims with these crimes. There are survivors from these crimes.
Yeah. And there's consequences for actions. And sometimes there's cold cases, and that's fucking devastating. There's missing people, and their families are begging for them to have answers, you know, and they don't have those answers. And that's the thing, is like, at the end of the day, we shared our ghost in the attic, but this is our bodies in the basement, people. Like, this is where our connection to, like, that we can publicly talk about to true crime has happened. And it's the Aurora movie theater shooting. It's fucking horrible, and it breaks my heart. And when me and Lindsey were talking about what episode should we do next coming up down the line, we have a fucking list that we'd love to do, but it's always like, which one?
When we noticed the week,
it gets overwhelming.
When we were looking at our schedule and we noticed what week this episode would come out, there was no doubt
in
our minds. We had
no question. This. And I want to talk about the fact that I live in her phone. We are on this app called Duo all the time. And we video chat, and we were video chatting while we had this conversation, and we both ended the call in tears because it brought up all of it. It brought out the emotion. It's trauma.
We weren't even physically there in the building.
No.
And it's trauma.
It's a ripple effect. It affects a lot more than just, it affects a community. It affects
a lot more than James Holmes and his stupid insanity plea.
Oh, fuck him.
Yes.
I swear, like him and his pinkish red Kool-Aid colored hair. Ugh. Who's he trying to be? Ronald McDonald? I don't know. That guy's a fucking clown. But I'm glad he's in prison where he deserves to be.
And will never get out.
He won't ever see the light of day outside of the time he gets in the yard. So good. Good for him that he finally got in trouble. Oh, but he's known. That's what he wanted, right? Fucking jackass. Ugh, sorry for such an anger-toned episode. It's just, it really does strike a nerve. And he killed a child.
Technically
two. And it's never going to be okay with me when anyone kills a child or another human, but specifically children, because I am a mother and I can't imagine that. Like it really pisses me off. And to kill a pregnant woman, or try to kill a pregnant woman, and then she loses her baby. Like, fuck this guy all day. Like, no.
And so if you listen to this and you want to look up more stuff about this, I just want to go ahead and encourage everybody to check out the 720 Memorial Foundation instead of looking up James Holmes.
I mean, there is a Wikipedia page. There is CNN website that we are citing specifically.
Yeah, we're gonna cite our sources as usual, but
there's so many things.
Don't
out
give him
there.
the light of day. Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably some fan page on Facebook for this asshole. Like there is Ted.
I don't want to know if there is.
Grosses me out. I don't know. It's such a heavy topic. Trauma is, and that's what this is for us. It's our trauma, our shared trauma, and it's not even the only one we got, which is really fucked up.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. You know, it's funny because people are like, oh, I wish we could be friends like you guys. Oh, cool. You wish you had like years of trauma under this. It's what builds relationships, is getting through hard shit together. And, you know, I don't wish.
That's weird.
I don't wish trauma on anyone.
No.
Oh, goodness. Well, whew, let's all just take like a deep breath and digress from this episode. And if I triggered anyone with my super angry tone, I'm really sorry. I get really passionate sometimes. That's a nice way to put that.
The best way to put this, though, I said that we weren't going to mention other true crime things we'd experienced, but this has a purpose to it. I've been robbed at work before, armed robbery, when I worked at Party City, and the reason I bring that up is just because of something that my boss at the time had said to me, which I say now when you're like apologizing for your tone and stuff. Because I, of course, struggled with work and whatnot. And she sat me down one day and was like, it really happened and it was scary. Which sounds like, well, duh. Like, obviously, it really happened and it was scary. But it's that validation of your feelings. It's like, yeah, this really happened and it was scary. And so now, even though it's been 9 years since that shooting, it still affects us. And we weren't even there, but it still affects us because we could have been there.
And I chose to never go back into that theater. I chose to go to Movie Tavern instead and pay the astronomical fee to watch movies there.
Yeah, we usually went to Movie Tavern anyways, just because we would go like pre-kids, like night sort of thing.
And anybody who doesn't know what a movie tavern is, they have food and alcohol and like really cushy seats.
So you're like eating dinner and stuff. There's other ones that are called different things other than Movie Tavern, but I think Movie Tavern is a pretty big chain.
Probably.
I know they have them down here in Texas, but yeah, I know I've been to that theater and I can't remember if I ever went after, but anytime you're near it
you feel
brings that up.
The heartache and the heaviness driving down that road. Driving in the mall parking lot, like you feel the heaviness.
Yeah.
That was a heavy episode, guys. Thank you for sticking around, and Lindsey, thank you for editing this, because it's going to be a hell of a chore. I feel
it's going to be so fun.
I don't know how to do the splicey dicey thing that you were capable of figuring out, so yay. At least we've numbered these along the way.
Yeah. And hopefully it turns out good. I'm not sure how long the episode is.
I hope it's more than 20 minutes. Let's just put it that way.
It definitely took us much longer than that to record this.
It's been like 2 hours, and I hope we get 20 minutes of feed. Like, how sad is that? Oh, goodness. I just want to say quickly, like we say every episode, send us your true crime stories. But with that, I want to add a note. Know that after this episode, after hearing this, we will take your story, and it will not be funny to us, and it won't be something lighthearted. We'll take it serious, and we'll probably have the same tone while reading a true crime story that we're having right now in this episode, because we do take it seriously, and we don't victim blame, we don't victim shame, and we don't glorify killers. So if you have any stories that you would like to share with us or interact with us in any way, gabbpodcast@gmail.com. You could reach us at gabbpodcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's our handle. But we would like book suggestions if anybody has some. I personally kind of have one in mind, but I'm not going to mention it on air just yet, just because I don't want to get anyone's hopes up that's going to be the book, and then like pull the rug out from underneath you and have a whole different book. But I have one in mind, and maybe it'll be the book, maybe it won't. But I'd love to start a bonus episode where we talk just about books and writing and whatever.
Or
That'd
maybe
be
we could do
super
like
fun.
a Facebook group, something.
We could do,
like I said
yeah.
at the start, we're just discussing options right now. So if you all have any input on that, reach out to us and we'll take that into consideration.
I mean, any feedback of any kind is always appreciated because we enjoy interacting with you. Come be our ghosty family. Like, it's super fun.
Yeah. And you know, we had mentioned last episode, I think it was, about our listener stats, and you all probably saw us posting on social some.
It's so cool.
It's so cool to see where everybody's from. It doesn't show us complete details. Like, it shows us down to like what state in the United States and some areas. But we are now at 2% listeners in Canada in 3 different provinces.
Yeah. In the United States, I think we had counted at one point and we were at like, what was it? 30 something states.
I think it was 27 or 31.
It was something pretty,
it was something like
impressive.
That.
I mean, we have people
England.
We have people all over the globe listening to us. And I think that's so cool. We expected Oklahoma, Texas, and Kentucky. We expected that. We kind of maybe thought people in Colorado because we used to live there. We got Georgia, we got California, we got Washington, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Illinois. That's just to name a few. I find that to be just impressive because I don't know people there.
Right.
And so
I know people in a lot of the places that we have listeners. Like, I know a couple of people in England, I know a couple of people in Canada, but like, I don't know if that's who's listening. So who are you? Please tell me, who are you? How, if you aren't somebody that knows us personally, how'd you hear about us?
Right. Like,
I'm so shocked by it all.
I'm so excited that we have people all over the place listening to us. And it's also
don't know
terrifying.
A damn person in the Netherlands.
I don't either. Also,
that,
if you want to send us pictures of where you live, not like your house,
not like your house, like
scenery, like I've never been there. Can you show me pretty things? I'd like to see pretty pictures.
Like, we have a listener in Uganda. Like, who are you?
Like, how cool is that? Like, I want to see
what meet all of you.
I want to see what your country looks like. I don't get to travel.
Right?
For a lot of reasons. I mean, I have COVID and a kid and life.
You don't have COVID.
No, I don't have COVID. I mean, like, that's a problem that
you did at one point
I can't travel.
COVID, but
right. Ugh, fuck that noise.
But
I'm vaccinated now. Got my microchip or lizard people status, whatever people fucking believe about the vaccine. I don't know. I just know that I was high risk, so I had to get it according to my doctor, and my doctor's pretty chill, so I don't argue with him.
Right, but I just want to know who you are, because like, I've only been out of the country one time, and we don't have listeners from Bora Bora on here.
Hey, can we get some Bora Bora? Pick it up.
If I live there, like I want to.
I want some listeners in Ireland, please. If we were taking requests, I'd like Ireland because I want to see pictures of places I desperately want to go to.
Yes.
But yeah,
connect with us, please. We ask every episode and no one does.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding. That's not true.
People,
no, not no one
have reached out,
but
I would like
so curious about
more.
This.
I am curious, and I want to interact.
Especially
with people.
like, how'd you hear of us? Did you just come across us like on your podcast app, or like, did you see us post somewhere? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah,
I'm sure some people just are familiar with the network, the Fearscape Media Network, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good network to be a part of. I'm very happy that we're here.
Yeah.
We got a good little community of podcasts. They're all different, but they're all awesome. And I don't know. I think it's really cool that we have people everywhere, but also I want to hear from all the people.
Yes.
And also tell your friends, share our stuff. We want more.
We want more countries.
More countries.
Also, the one thing I will state about our listener stats that is very disappointing is that all of our listeners are from Earth. Yes, it does actually tell us planets.
It does. It's so funny.
Because you can click out, you can click in, that's how we know the states and the regions of other countries and stuff like that. But then you can click back and it tells you, it has Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Like, it's like literally everything. Even Pluto is on here.
Yeah, Pluto, get your shit together. Start listening.
And I would probably honestly like get terrified if the number ever changed and any of these other planets got a
well, we know
percentage.
aliens are real now. I mean, we always believe, but it's confirmed. So yeah, now we have options.
Well, it's confirmed because we never did an update. We just posted on social media. It was confirmed that the government, there are UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them, that they don't know what they are.
Right.
So that doesn't mean it's alien, just like we said in the Roswell episode, but it is confirmed that there's things that they don't know.
There's unexplained things in the universe, and that's so exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah. So come on, aliens. I know you hear us. But what was it? Josh from our network said it's because, or was it Stefan? One of them, they're both from our network. They're the hosts of Fearscape Paranormal, but they had said it's because the aliens are living among us. And that's how they're still coming from Earth on the stats.
Right. They blended in at this point. All right, guys. Well, we will let you get back to your regularly planned lives. And
I just wanted to do another side note. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but it just made me think we went from being like so heavy and crying to we got listeners on Earth only.
It helps.
I just want to
Zoom
point
keeps
this
cutting
is
us off.
Trauma response.
Oh yeah.
If you ever experienced any sort of trauma, like I mentioned that robbery earlier, we were all laughing while we're sitting there waiting for the cops, and the cops were like, no, this is completely normal. It's like, that's what you do. Like your body reacts that way. So so I'm sorry, that's kind of a roller coaster, but that's just how the human body copes with trauma. Yeah.
And it's just also who we are as people. Like we can't be super heavy for too long, or we just have to get off the phone with each other.
You write a poetry book in a month, and
or what I'm currently doing side work wise in like 5 days. So
yeah,
fuck. You know?
I will say with exercising my mind, while that was some heavy stuff because I was going through some shit. Some of it was old. So like the fact that I did it in like a week, not counting formatting.
It's so funny when people ask us, oh, how long did it take you to write your book? I lie sometimes to make it sound like I'm like more professional.
This was planned for years.
It's been in the works a while. In my case,
in both of our cases, our current, like my last one, which was end of 2020, and then the one that you're doing currently, while the idea was new and therefore it's only a couple of days of actual work or whatever, it takes things that are old. And so in a sense, like the current project, we've been working on that for 6 months.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh, so, with that heavy ass
all of this, I don't even remember how we brought up the writing, but
hey, it's ADD for you. And if you don't like ADD, we are probably not the podcast for you.
But also I would think, going back to my roller coaster thing, some of it is our personal things. Like we are the people pleaser, too independent type, which is great because we're like so alike in that sense. We can relate on that. But that means that then when things get heavy and we start crying, you all notice I immediately apologized.
Yeah.
And then we went back to being funny.
I got onto my niece because she moved near me the other day and brushed up against me. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, don't apologize for existing. Right. It's fine. I'm not injured.
And it's like we're sitting here talking about how our family members thought we were all dead. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I cried a little bit. It's like, no shit. It's fine.
I do want to say I did read something speaking about like not apologizing for your existence. I read something once, probably on Pinterest. Shout out to Pinterest. It's a black hole of web surfing. It said, unless somebody directly tells you that you have upset them and they address that, you don't have to take it and worry about it. And it's not your problem. It's their problem if they're acting weird. It's not your fault unless they tell you it's your fault. And that really stuck with me. So I thought maybe that it would be like insightful words to share with the world. It's not my concept. I just read it somewhere and I would cite it if I could remember what meme I saw it from. But I thought that was good advice.
To think on.
Yeah, it's good advice.
But all of this to say,
Welcome to the life of ADD. This is the end of our show.
I'm obviously processing shit right now because I keep just like word vomiting it out.
Right,
9 years later, we're still processing.
Facts. All right,
That's
guys.
just life.
Well, until next time, stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye. Hello.
Hey, Anna. Is that a new outfit? You look super cute.
It is. I just went to this really cute store in town called Mainstream Boutique.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome store. It's like my little hidden secret. It's locally owned by a really wonderful woman named Kim. She's the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. It's a women's retail boutique that offers a unique selection of clothes and apparel and accessories for all generations. So teenagers to 20 and up. It's magic. I mean, we've talked for years about what do we wear? I don't know what to wear at this age. I don't want to look like a teenager. This store is the store that has changed my outlook on how I appear as an adult.
Oh, that's so cool.
You
said it's a local store?
Yeah, it's local to Shawnee, Oklahoma, but they do ship.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to get on that website. What's their website?
Their website is mainstreamboutique.com. They also have a Facebook page, which is Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. They're a apparel and accessories for multi-generations. Their mission, which I really stand behind, is to empower, strengthen, and celebrate women in the world throughout fashion. And I think that's so
I love that.
And
I'm going right now to check that out, especially if they ship. That's awesome.
It's mainstreamboutique.com or Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. We'll put all the links in our bio, but I have an exclusive for you guys. Are you ready?
What?
I talked to the owner today. For our listeners only, you get 10% off your full ticket items.
Oh my God.
All full priced items when you ring up, 10% off, whether it's online or in person. And if you go in person, tell them we said, hey, they said to use the code GAB for a discount code. And if you use our discount code, you get 10% off all full price items of your entire ticket. How cool is that?
That is amazing. I can't wait to go check it out.
Well, the next time you come visit me, we'll have to have a shopping spree.
I'm in.
GAB is your promo code.
Thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Attic, Bodies in the Basement, a Fearscape Media podcast. Music by Stephen Timperley. Artwork by Laura Ramsey. Find us online at fearscapemedia.com/GABB podcast or on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GABB podcast or email us gabbpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.